My name is Helena Dellarosa and I am the host of Heart Wisdom Symposium. Thank you for joining us today. Our special guest today is the Mónica Esquiva. Welcome to the show, Mónica.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute honour to have you here on the show today, and our audience are going to absolutely love the information that they're going to receive from you, and it's going to be lots of fun, and there's going to be so many pearls of wisdom within the conversation that we're going to have today. So I am really looking forward to this today, Mónica.
Me too.
Yes. So could you please tell our audience about what you do and who you help?
Thank you. I would say that I'm the author of 9 books on self-development and spiritual development. And I have been working as a transformational coach for the last 15 years. So I guess what I do is I help people overcome their suffering and their obstacles in life and help them go a step up on their consciousness development if they wish so. So we always start with something that bothers them or something that they want to achieve, usually something internal. And then we go deeper if they are willing. Like, how do you increase your level of wisdom? How do you learn from these experiences? So instead of just, okay, I want them to go away because they are bothering me or it's something they're really uncomfortable. Well, what can you learn from your life situation? This is something that will give you a lesson and will help you go up in your consciousness. So I always try to look at life situations and circumstances as a stepping stone to go deeper and wider in your vision of life and in your own resources, internal resources. So I guess that's what I do. I do it on one-on-one basis, but I also teach people how to do it, and I lead retreats regularly as well. And of course, I write a lot of books and that.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. You literally have something for everyone for each area of their life when they want to develop and move forward. And I noticed one of the key words that you said there was suffering. Now, we both know that we're not here on earth to suffer in any manner at all. And I know that you're also helping people evolve their levels of consciousness, as well as aiding in transitioning in different periods, areas of their life. So how would someone know that they are suffering in their life? What would be poignant emotions or triggers that you could point out to someone that they are currently going through that just now?
Well, it's usually when you start feeling, there's a word for it in Buddhism. I have studied with Tibetan lamas for 10 years, and I received teachings from the Dalai Lama. And one of the key concepts for them is dukkha. Dukkha means suffering, but also unsatisfactory. Like this unsatisfactory state of life. This is like the key element of life here on earth on 3D is that life is not satisfactory. It doesn't really matter how much you achieve, how many things you possess, even if you have a wonderful relationship, partnership, you have a good family, it doesn't really matter because you still feel this unsatisfaction or dissatisfaction, like the song, you know, I can get no satisfaction. Well, it's the same thing. It doesn't really matter how much you get. It's never enough because the ego is always looking for more. And we are in a society that pushes that very much. It's like, okay, go for more. This is not enough. And it's just because the mind and the ego is always pushing for that. So some people think that because they didn't get what they wanted, they have not achieved their dreams or their plans, or they have not met that special person to share their life with, or they want children and they cannot have children, or they want a bigger house but they don't have the house yet. The number of things. They think that because they don't have it yet, that's the reason why life is unsatisfactory. And the thing is, I have worked with millionaires, I have worked with leaders and even celebrities, and they have the same problem. They got it. They got what everybody's looking for, success, money, followers, recognition, power, you name it. And they still feel not satisfied. Because they still want more, or they are afraid of losing what they have. So at the end of the day, you discover in one way or another, sometimes just with a crisis, or sometimes with this kind of deep insatisfaction, that this is not it, that you cannot look for things to fulfill you outside of yourself. And even if you get them, as we were saying, you're not going to get it. So some people think that, well, okay, then I need to push more, I need to run more, I need to go farther, and I need to go faster. Or you can just look at yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to get there anywhere by looking, I'm going faster and higher. It's something that is inside. And nothing, absolutely nothing can fulfill this emptiness, this vacuum that I feel inside. And it can only be fulfilled, it can only be filled from within. And this, for so many people, is the start of a spiritual path.
I agree with you 100%, because I recognise a lot of the actions in myself where I was constantly trying to achieve and strive, and still had that feeling of not being satisfied. And that's what also led me on my spiritual journey as well. And it's whenever the pieces finally start clicking into place that it's the ego that has that attachment to the material objects, and you then find that connection between not being satisfied in the material objects, and you just realize that you're a hamster on a wheel chasing after material objects that, as you said yourself, you just won't feel satisfied. It's that unsatisfaction. And through that feeling of being unsatisfied, it's connected to suffering. And with your work, you're then able to lead people to a place of contentment where they are satisfied, because you're then taking them on that journey within. Because as you said, you've worked with millionaires, and you've worked with leaders, and you've worked with celebrities, and they all have that core feeling of being unsatisfied, and you're leading them to their spiritual journey of where they're actually meant to be. And it's teaching them that attachment the ego has, because the ego is very strong, isn't it? The ego, even though we need the ego, it's so strong in wanting to hold us in place, because it feels as though it's going to lose complete control of us as we evolve our consciousness, on our path back to the divine. So in amongst that, because this is the Heart Wisdom Symposium and we're talking about feelings of being unsatisfied, if someone's heart was blocked, how would someone know that their heart was blocked and this is connected to that feeling of being unsatisfied?
Well, it's also a matter of sometimes people's hearts are blocked because they suffer in their past and they have not healed from it. That's the most common reason why they have blocked their heart. So although I am a true believer, and not just a believer, but I have seen it in my life and in dozens of cases, that what really matters and is the spiritual evolution. First of all, you need to heal the ego. you cannot transcend an ego that has not been healed first. And this is why I see so many people nowadays doing spiritual bypass and thinking that they don't have to deal with certain things that are uncomfortable and they can just go straight to enlightenment. And that is not true. You have to heal your wounds first. Otherwise, those wounds will just leak. And I see people with neurosis, and I see people with psychosomatic illnesses, and people just blaming others for their own doing. It creates so many other problems, even self-sabotaging your life. And it's just because you have not dealt with that. So first and foremost, you need to heal your wounds. You need to face them, and you need to just go into them to let them go. And the second step I will say is forgiveness. Forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of others. This is key. And you are not completely healed until you have forgiven. And yes, those things have happened to you, and probably if you could have chosen them consciously, you will have not chosen them, but you chose them unconsciously. Your soul planning was very aware of what's going to happen, and you did choose it. So yes, it might have been terrible, it might have been dramatic, it might have been really painful to go through it, but it's over now. And instead of just licking your wounds, it's so much nicer, it's so much better, it's so much more important that you look at it, you accept it, you go through the feelings that you have not yet integrated, and then you forgive and let go. But it's true that you cannot skip any steps along the way. You have to go through all of them. And only afterwards you have done that, then you can be present here to be centered on what really matters, which is enlightenment, or our way towards enlightenment. But you have to deal with the things that are uncomfortable and the things that you have taken into your shadow because, they were not nice to look at. They were unpleasant. They were painful. And then they are just doing their work unconsciously on you and your life. So many people think, okay, why all these things are happening to me, all these enormous challenges or problems? Well, so many times they're just lessons that have not been learned yet. So there are opportunities for you to learn a lesson, and then you let them go, and then you go to the next stage, and you don't have to face it again. You may face different challenges, but those ones will be overcome.
I agree 100%. Our soul has an amazing way of, because we have these wounds that need to be healed, even from past lives, that they start to bring them up by creating experiences in this life. It's that, why does that keep happening to me? Why do I keep ending up in the same relationship? Why do I keep losing money, in these different areas? And it's funny sometimes how the soul's like that. No, you're not moving on to the next level until you deal with this, because we do need to deal with the traumas and the wounds. And even if you think that you've healed them, all of a sudden the same circumstance comes up again, and then you're like, nope, I still haven't healed that yet. And as you said, the key word is forgiveness, and going down that path of having to look at what you need to forgive yourself for and forgive others for it can be a very, very hard journey, because you need to face the wounds, the experiences that you've done or someone's done to you, but it needs to be healed, or you won't get to like that next level, as you said, of spirituality, of enlightenment. But I didn't know that people were trying to spiritually bypass their core wounds, their healing. So if you came across this often, this is a new one for me.
Well, so many people do that. I mean, I have worked with people, and I had witnessed that much often than you will think. And I will give you an example that the viewers can understand. Okay. I have seen people that have used meditation as a bypass.
Okay.
How? Well, you have, let's say that you have a fear inside of you. And it's a fear of whatever, let's say commitment, but it could be anything. And instead of looking at your fear, what you do is you meditate. So you feel calmer, so you can live with it and you don't have to deal with it. And that is a shortcut. That is a spiritual shortcut and a bypass. Because it's like, okay, now that I meditate, I feel so much calmer with this problem, this fear, whatever it is. So I don't need to deal with it. And it can keep staying stored in my subconscious, in my shadow, in my it's as a blind point. And I don't have to deal with it. I'm this spiritual person. I meditate so much, so I don't have any problems. I have nothing to deal with, and I'm so advanced.
But it's still there in your subconscious. So yes, the meditation might calm you, might calm your nerves, but the core wound, that trauma is still there. Thanks for that, Monica. I didn't know that that's what they were doing. And so instead of actually dealing with their shadow sides, they're trying to spiritually bypass it. No, ladies and gents, you need to do the work.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it. It's gonna come up at some point in mysterious ways and in ways that, you know, it will serve your ego to blame others. And it's like, no, I have this problem because of these people or because of this situation, instead of looking at yourself. And it's like, why is this keep coming back? Yeah. And then you create problems where there are none, only because you don't want to face that uncomfortable truth about yourself. And you have to be very brave if you are on a spiritual path. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck. You're not going to keep progressing. It's a tough path. It's a wonderful path, but it's a tough path. You really need to roll up your sleeves and face it and face those things about yourself that are not so beautiful. But still, you need to be very honest with yourself and say, okay, I don't like this about myself. Well, I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to criticize myself, but I do need to deal with it. I need to make something to improve the situation. I need to look at my virtues and my weaknesses and really work on them. Because if you don't work on that, you are very tempted to blame others and do a spiritual bypassing.
Yep, I agree with you 100%, 100%. So can you please tell our audience how your work has changed people's lives?
I think we should ask them, right?
Get some people on. Get some of your clients here. You're like, I was here, but now I'm here. Massive transformation. Oh, okay.
It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. I have been working on this field for 15 years, as I said, and I have seen people that have gone through extraordinary transformations, you know, people that were really sorry about themselves. They were feeling like a victim of life. Some people had addictions, some people were depressed and had gone to a number of psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists, and they couldn't find a way to just have a different life. And what I do is I go to their minds. I always go to their minds and to their wounds. And it's like, okay, first thing I do is, okay, let's cure your wounds. What are they? And I do it like first thing, you know, so take it out of the way. And then it's like, well, is your life situations what is hurting you? Or is it your perspective on life? Is it that you are maybe attaching to your mind and your ego's view of life, and you are creating your own suffering without realizing it? And then we go through that. We really go through that into detail. And it's like, okay, I try to see how his mind or her mind, their mind works, and see in which ways they are harming themselves and harming others. And they're making their life very, very difficult without, there's no need for that. Of course, there are moments in life that are painful. And we all have to live with it. There's no way around it. But one thing is to face those painful moments, or it can be your body that is getting sick, or you are being fired at work, or someone close to you has died, or you have been diagnosed with an illness, really serious things. And that you may feel the pain right there. But every time you suffer is because you are not going straight in your mind. It's because you are making your life very difficult. It's because you are believing things that are not real. So you keep creating a suffering in your mind, and we actually live in our minds. It's not what happens to us what is important. It's how you interpret what happens to you. That's what really matters. So that's what I look at. How you are interpreting your life situations. How are you interpreting this relationship? What are the conclusions you are arriving at? Because that is what you need to change. The world, what is not under your control is not under your control. You need to accept it as it is and concentrate on what you can change, because there are many things that you can change, and all of them are inside of you.
I agree 100%. They all are inside of us, because we do co-create this world that we're living in, and we can have a perception of a situation when it's the complete opposite, and it's because of the belief systems that we have installed in us, and possibly due to traumas that we've endured, experienced as a child or as a teenager, then colours our perception and view on certain people or certain situations, and that can have such a profound effect on our world beliefs as well, and how we interact with people on a day-to-day basis, because we aren't our behaviour, but how we react to something can be a significant indicator of that trauma that we haven't healed, that shadow side of ourselves from whenever when we were younger, or when that trauma happened to us. So I completely agree with you.
Exactly, Helena, but it's not just even that, although that is totally true, but it's more than that. It's sometimes, okay, something happened to you. It may have been dramatic, but happened once. How many times are you repeating that in your mind? That is making you very, very bad. That is what is creating the continuous suffering, because you cannot let go of it. So that's one thing. And sometimes that creation of suffering that comes from within is because we don't like things the way they are. So we are resisting them. We are fighting against them. We are thinking, okay, this is totally unfair. Why is this happening here? Why is this happening in the world? What is it happening to my family? What is it happening to me? And we get stuck there. Instead of saying, okay, I may not like this, but if I don't accept it, I cannot do something about it. And sometimes you can do something about it, but your mind is so blinded and obscured by your own harming emotions that you cannot see things with discernment. So you cannot make up your mind and make good decisions. And sometimes that fighting, that resistance is creating the suffering itself. So the mind is key. It's like, and that's really what I teach, how to use your mind to your benefit and to the benefit of humanity. And that is possible, but no one has taught us. This should be taught when, from school, from a very early age, but no one has bothered to teach us ever how to use our mind and our heart, of course.
Yeah, because our heart is our first brain, our gut our intuition is our second brain, and our mind is our third brain. And we aren't taught in schools how to use our mind, because our mind is so powerful in creating the life that we truly want. And as you said, that one traumatic event happens to us, but then you continue to play it over and over and over like a mind movie, which creates the suffering, which constantly creates these experiences and events to come up over and over again until you get to the root and heal that specific trauma so that you're then released from it. There's other light workers who, like yourself, are healing the mind, but also teaching people how to use the mind, through different techniques so that you're using it correctly, so that you're not in a place of suffering anymore. It's with that old adage of, forgiveness. We still need to forgive ourselves and forgive others. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, but it's not going to happen, because it's yourself that's putting yourself through this suffering on a daily basis, because people tend to think the same thoughts over and over and over again. But that's what I'm coming across just now, light workers that are really trying to teach people how to use your mind in the correct way, because it's so powerful, and visualization alone is very powerful, but to connect that with emotions, and that's you. You've got quite a powerful weapon there to be able to start to create that life that you truly want. There's a name ringing in my head, Mónica, and it's not Joseph, it's someone else. It's his techniques. He was a gentleman back in the 1940s or 50s. See, when I come off this call, his name's going to spring forward to me. And I know that a lot of people are using his techniques just now. It's not the De Silva technique, although that is one. But I agree with you that you need to heal that root trauma so that you're not having that mind movie and then creating that suffering in your life over and over again. So can you tell our audience about what did you learn about healing your heart, and what areas in your life this unlocks?
I think the heart heals with love, and you have to start with self-love. You cannot love others generally if you don't love yourself. Mm-hmm. So that love means that not only being empathetic and be sensitive, but it's also about putting limits and have boundaries, because we healers and light workers and starseeds and all of the sorts tend to be very empathetic, and we want to help others. We want to share what we have. We want to have everybody on board. And then we say yes so many times when we have to say no, because deep inside, we want to have those limits. And it's not about not wanting to help others. It's about, how can I give something to others if I get depleted? What can I give to others if I don't have the right to say no to certain people, to certain things? So I think it's very important in our role to be able to set boundaries. And that is a very difficult thing for us. And it's very healing too, because you put yourself in a position where I do matter. And if I get exhausted, then who on earth am I going to help?
Yeah.
So you need to fill your cup of tea first, and then you can give to others. But if your cup of tea is empty, what are you going to share with others? Mm. So I think it's a point, it's an element that it gets overlooked far too often. And I think it's a very important one for light workers, healers, therapies, and the sort.
Yeah. Again, it's like, as you had said earlier, that we're not taught how to use our mind. It's the same with the boundaries. I've found is that we're not taught healthy boundaries. Unless you they come from an environment where you have like amazing parents or family around you, and they teach you, help you how to, help teach you how to, where am I? They teach you how to have healthy boundaries, because I found work recently around discussions that I've been having, the correlation between raising your standards and having healthy boundaries is that you need to have healthy boundaries. And as you said, you need to fill your own cup up first, because if you don't have that self-love for yourself and you don't have the resources of energy for yourself, how can you possibly help other people? And unless we have the healthy boundaries in place, we then effectively can't raise our standards in so many different areas. So I completely agree with you 100%. We need the boundaries. Yes, we do, because if we don't, then people can very easily absorb our energy. You'll have energy vampires around us, and then it takes more time to heal yourself and then get back out and try and help heal others. And then it can be like an elastic band. You're always like going back and forth and back and forth, and you need to learn to say no to people, even if it's your closest friends or your closest family. You need to reserve that for yourself, because if you're depleted, you're no use to anybody. You can't help anyone at all, and especially if you're trying to create a life that you want, because if you have your cup overfilled, then it filters out to your friends, your family, and your community. Everyone does feel that benefit. It's yep, we need to be taught boundaries. We do, Monica. We do. The power of our mind.
So many things that we need to learn along the way.
We do. We do. I'm just curious, with your time studying alongside the Dalai Lama, is there any profound moments that you would like to share with our audience? Any words of wisdom that you learned with your time with the Dalai Lama that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I think what I remembered the most was the first time I was attending one of his teachings, and I was surrounded by people, most of them Tibetans, that go when he does public teachings. Everybody goes there to his temple. So I was surrounded by people. We had simultaneous translation into English, and he always talks in Tibetan. So, and he was doing an initiation with us, a very complex initiation where you have to imagine, I don't know how many deities and one on top of each other in your head. And it was very complicated. And at that time, I was not very familiar with Buddhism or Buddhist goddesses and gods, and I would say deities more than anything. It was very complex. So I couldn't understand what he was doing. But every time he will speak, I will get into a peak experience, into a mystical experience. And then he will just stop for whatever reason, just to do a little bit of meditation or whatever. And then my experience will stop. He will start again. I will understand nothing at all. And then my experience will just restart again. So I thought at that time, well, I don't know what is going on here, but this being is very special. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us, that sometimes it's not what we say, is who we are. And sometimes it's not so important the words we are trying to communicate, is the energy that we emanate. And that comes from our own being, our own inner work. That's why it's so important to do the work as light workers and healers and therapists, because we think that we need to heal the person. Well, most of the times we are not healing anyone. The person needs to heal himself, herself. We are just channels. We are just vessels of a higher energy. And to be able to absorb, or I will say transmit more than anything, that energy, we need to be clean. So to be able to do that, you need to work on your own ego. You need to work on your mind. You need to work on your obsessions and the things that you have not overcome. So for me, that's the main message. Work on yourself, and then your own being will be doing the healing in accordance with higher beings and masters that are always there to help. So we are not doing the job, me, like the person. This is not how it works. It's higher energy, is the universal energy that is doing the work through us. But to be able to allow that, we need to be very pure. We need to work on our virtues. We need to let aside all the temptations of and I will say obsessions with money, with recognition, with power, and all those things that are very human, but those obsessions make us lower our vibration. And we need to be in higher vibration to be able to really be of help. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yep. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Can you please tell us about the free gift that you have gifted our audience?
With pleasure. I have prepared an ebook. It's called How to Raise Your Consciousness. And it's an ebook that I think will help people in a very concise and very simple way, how like manners and ways to work on yourself, as we were just talking about, how to raise your vibration. And that way you will be able to focus on what really matters instead of just beating about the bush and wasting your time. And we have so many ways to waste our time nowadays with all the devices and the technology. So I think it's good to have something that is concise, precise, and simple to take in, and then take it with you and work on it further if you want.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is an amazing gift that you have gifted our audience. And it's something, as you said, that they can take away with them. And it's a structure that they can work from. Because as you said, we should stop distracting ourselves with trying to run after money and power and all the ego-based things in life that we're taught that we're supposed to run to, and it'll make us feel happy and fulfilled. But instead we find ourselves back in that place of suffering, and we want to raise our vibration because we're now evolving and shifting to head onto our spiritual path. And for you to gift our audience with that ebook so that they can then have that structure to start from and then help them transition into. Thank you so much. And for our audience, to access this free gift, if you just click on the link beneath the video, that would be absolutely amazing. And the gift is there for you to access. Could you also please, Monica, tell us about your new book? Please tell our audience. I'm very excited for you to share all the details with our audience.
Thank you very much. I am very excited as well, because my previous 8 books were published in Spanish, some of them in Portuguese, but they were not published in the Anglo-Saxon world. And I have written this one in English. So it's going to be published in March, and it's going to be published in the US, but also worldwide. And I'm very happy about that, because I'm going to talk about the levels of wisdom that we can all reach until we go to the very top of unity. And I am very pleased to have the opportunity to show people that those goals that we were brainwashing into having, into pursuing before, are not the ones that we should pursue. The most important goal in life is enlightenment, is unity consciousness, and being able to show that and explain how you go through the steps of a ladder, so to speak, until you go there, and where you are, so you can identify yourself and say, okay, I'm here, how do I get there? And give tools to do it. For me, this is like this is my mission in life, really. So I'm very happy that it is going to happen.
Excellent, amazing. And you are sharing that with the world creating this book, showing them how to evolve and transition to get to unity, as you said. So everyone, keep an eye out for Monica's book, because you're absolutely going to love it. So sadly, we're coming to the end of our Heart Wisdom Symposium session, and there's been so much amazing information that our audience has been able to absorb, and I know that they're going to go away and watch this over and over again. So, but could you please tell our audience, what is your last words of wisdom from your heart to them today?
Well, there are so many things I would like to share, but I will say the most important thing is look at yourself, look at the things that you need to work on, and get your hands on it as soon as possible. Don't delay your inner work, because doing the inner work is what is going to open the door to new spaces. And it's, in a way, it's like being in a video game, and you are on a certain screen. What helps you to go to the next screen is your inner work. It's not what it's going to happen to you. It's not, nothing external will help you go to the next screen. And the next screen is so much better. So do your work, and you will reap all the good consequences and the good effects very, very quickly.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That is absolutely amazing words of wisdom that you have shared with our audience, and I know that they're going to go away and digest this. Thank you so much for that, Mónica. Well, I don't want this interview to end. I really don't, because it's been so much fun, and it has been full of so much information that I know that there's so many bits and pieces of golden nuggets that are in there that people, it's like having, that people are going to be able to take away with them, and it's like light bulb moments that they've just experienced, and they're going to go away and it'll ferment, and they're going to be like, that's me she's talking about, that's me, I really need to do that. You're like, yes, ladies and gents, you do, you need to go away and do the shadow work. So thank you so much for being on the Heart Wisdom Symposium. It has been a complete honour and blessing to have you on the show, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you very much, Mónica.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.